both you gentlemen, visionary entrepreneur for more than 3 decades. You've been almost 25 years in investing. If you look at what we've heard today, are you still positive? I think you are, Alex, right? Still, absolute optimist. It will never change, does it?
I am really an optimist, and I think we covered very important parts that are all playing into that optimism. I mean, we have to remember that these nice balcony power plants that Jared showed us, they were created in an act of anarchy. We built these in Germany and in Austria, and it was forbidden to use them. People also went into jail because they used solar power.
Why was that? That was regulation?
That was against regulation. It was not allowed to do it, and the utilities were fighting against it. And also, other players, a very long-term friend of mine just died, and they were the electricity rebels from the Black Forest, and they bought back as people their own electricity net and did things that nobody else did. They allowed solar, for example. So fighting for new solutions, that will not stop. And the reason why I'm optimistic is because there are people who are doing that job. There are people who are fighting on the political side. There are also people who are fighting on the technical side. And I think the level that we have reached so far is simply so big that we will get the turn. I think maybe the reason why we have a decreasing awareness of how important it is to fight climate change, it is a provocative thesis, but it might also be linked to the fact that a lot of people think that we will have a solution for that. But they are much more afraid of other things meanwhile, maybe their health system or whatever.
We saw that,
and maybe they're right. So
yeah.
I'm optimistic, yes.
Yes. So Mario, what about you? You have your company invests heavily in wind, and generally, I think solar and wind, generally renewables. Looking at what you've heard today, the fact that we have this a little bit of a, as I say, it's a dilemma actually. That on one side we see all the positive developments when it comes to renewables. We see those numbers. We see exponential growth, but at the same time, the perception in the broader public seems not to follow at all. How do you see this as an investor? Is anything stopping you, or what would make you nervous as an investor? What's happening in society right now?
That's a good question. Let me elaborate a little bit before on the optimistic side. I mean, or being optimistic or pessimistic. I am an optimist, and I'm very comfortable and confident that the world will be better off because renewables are there, technology is given, it's affordable, it's cheap. Yeah. Other countries are doing it. I'm a little bit more concerned about Europe, so I share totally Jared's view. Okay. And this leads me a little bit also to answering your question, which is what's keeping me nervous is the fact that we are at a crossroad. We have to act quick in Europe because we need to increase the amount of installed capacity. We need more power, more cheap power. At the same time, and so, yeah, time is sort of running out. At the same time, we have infrastructure costs, the grid, which has to be reinforced. And we have a lot of bureaucracy still going on. I'm a little bit concerned that things might take too long in Europe, and this could mean somehow a loss of wealth, which we have sort of built up also because cheap power, was present and abundant. And this is something that we have to really work on. And
so you would agree to what Gerard said about China, that China understood how it works?
Yes.
And they just go, right? There's just no limit. They are super fast. And it seems that everything here is slow.
Yes, so they're very consistent. We are sort of, I mean, we are a little bit, and this sort of leads me to a struggle I have. I'm sort of grateful for the subsidies that we have received in the past, right? They have allowed this industry to sort of to flourish and to grow. At the same time, they have made us lazy, and they have made sort of us rely on long-term support. And given the fact that, I mean, the real world is very dynamic, very fast, and sort of companies can sort of plan in a time horizon of 5-10 years max.
Right.
We as an investor look for much longer periods of time, so we need somebody to take the power off for the long run, to make it investable and to make it cheap in terms of financing. And this is sort of doesn't really fit together, right? So we are looking and we are spoiled from something that was given there in the past by a generous government.
Yes.
Or generous government throughout Europe, and now we are left with sort of the industry which doesn't look so far in the future, and so this creates a struggle in terms of investability, if you can say, in these assets.
Alex, as an entrepreneur, you've been multiple entrepreneur in the last decades in that area. I think one of the few persons that we have in Germany that has so much experience in that. You have started so early in solar. You talked about the subsidies and the market. I remember I spent time in Singularity University, which is like 10 years ago. And we had a talk about future of energy. There was a speaker, and he pointed Germany as the best example on the planet to push the energy transition. It was 10 years ago. So in Silicon Valley, they looked at us and said, what Germany is doing is unbelievable. This is where we have to go. 10 years later today, where are we now? Why did we lose that momentum? And for an entrepreneur like you, is it more difficult now?
I mean, it is exactly as I said in my TED talk. I mean, the fossil empire struck back, and the government simply capped new solar and wind. I mean, we have installed here in Berlin with my company Unicos, a number of team members are here in the room. We installed the first battery to build an energy supply system that's only based on solar and batteries that gives us the reliability of an electric grid. And we had 3 months later the regulator from California here, and it took 3 months in California for them to write a new law, and they adopted batteries in their regulation. And that's why we have these nice pictures now in California. And in Germany, I think 2 years ago, it's not longer, our regulator the first time recognized that there is energy storage. I mean, we simply slept for 10 years, but that was not for nothing. It was for the profits of the fossil fuel industry.
So they gave them more time.
Definitely. I mean, they traded the solar industry against China for the freedom to operate for the car industry. Now we see where we are. This is the next thing we are losing. Right. Here we go.
So would you say that we need more civil unrest like Carla just describes? Should we be more active?
I mean, yes. At the same time, we should be more aware that ultimately many things are made or are driven by us when we decide where to invest our money, right, or when our pension funds decide where to allocate the money. It should be made much more transparent where this money flows in, because ultimately, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, it's a very subjective matter, but I wouldn't be surprised if many of us end up having sort of savings somehow in instruments connected to oil and gas, right? So ultimately, we could all be made accountable, even without being fully aware of what we're doing. And so I think that awareness is crucial in the first instance to understand which role each of us can have. Alex, what you told about the modules is somehow we have been also guilty for what has happened because we started looking at the cheapest price, right? We went for the absolute lowest module price all over the world. And it ended up being in China. So the German manufacturing companies started to suffer as well. So again, it's not always the other's fault. It's sometimes also our own fault, and we have to be, I think, more aware that how much each of us can do individually.
So do you think the environment that we have on the regulatory level, like where the laws are done, you know, we have to be careful not to be too expert here in the conversation because we want everybody to understand it. You know, for me as a citizen, it's very hard to understand when you describe that it took 3 months to write the law, execute the law, and start doing it. And here, maybe it takes a decade or what, I don't know. You're part of that industry, you're part of the regulation. What can we do? Because I would say, as a citizen, I want you to be able to operate faster. What can I do as citizen to change this? What can I do? Because I cannot support you as an entrepreneur, but what can I do? Carla proposed that, Carla, she said in her talk that just giving a vote to a party will not change enough.
I mean, it is not easy to answer that.
Of course.
I mean, when I started with solar, everybody said, solar is nice, but it's not possible to have it on the grid. Because, the solar module is producing DC, but in the grid, we need AC. Mm-hmm. So the company where I started as a student was the first one in Berlin to develop a machine that was converting DC into AC. Mm-hmm. And we connected the first 1 kilowatt system against law in Tempelhof. We had to fight 3 years. A lot of people had to pay high fines for that time, but that was the start of grid-connected PV. Mm-hmm. And so if you're an engineer, if you have ideas, simply go out, do what you can. You will have publicity, you will have people behind you. But if you simply wait until somebody is allowing it, nothing will happen. Okay. So it's resistant and the courage, it is not only a word. I mean, without doing things, nothing is happening at all.
I think the business model of Silicon Valley for a long time was to actually break rules and ignore rules until, there's a lot of pressure to start regulating. Maybe we can learn from that. I would not say do it, but we can say, let's look at it, and maybe we can adapt this in parts.
I mean, the thing is, you have to keep safety on highest level. It's not to risk somebody's life or Absolutely. To break safety rules. That is not what I'm talking about. But in a way, sometimes you need simply to show what is possible, to enable also the lawmakers to take their decisions. Because if they're only influenced by the naysayers, by the people who are claiming it doesn't work, it is too expensive, it will never work, mm-hmm. you will never end up nowhere.
We have no progress, then we will not have progress at all, and you cannot invest in anything.
Right, and again, it's a very difficult topic, and somehow, I mean, if we've talked about China today, right? And we've talked about democracy and electing, and somehow all of this doesn't really fit together, right? So the guys are fast and move quickly, also because they don't spend time discussing different things. So it's a price that we have to pay, and I think we have to a certain extent accept it. The question is how to make it more efficient, and I believe that one of the biggest issues that we have is the fact that the world is increasingly complex, and less people do understand complexity. If we talk about the grid, for example, it's a universe which is highly complicated to understand, and so it's also difficult to expect that politicians end up knowing what to do because they maybe change something and don't even know about the consequence that this decision triggers somewhere else. So it's a very, very, very complex system we're in, and I mean, it sounds like really a very simple thing, but education in many ways is an answer, is a key.
Yeah, education is key. So let's end on a positive note. I would like you to both give us an outlook. What will trigger the success of the energy transition when it comes to technology, the mix? You're big in hydrogen right now. You're investing heavily in that sector, in green hydrogen. Super interesting area. What role will this play? And then I would like to hear from you, what are the areas where you will put your money in the next 10 years? What do you see? Do you stick to wind and solar? Are there new things coming up? Like, just to end on a positive note here.
Whether it's positive or not, we will see. I mean, with a movement to add to the production of renewable energy, also the storage and the conversion function. We worked on that 15 years ago, and nobody accepted it. And when we showed that it's possible, it was exactly the time when they prolonged nuclear and stopped solar. So what did I? I started companies in the United States. I mean, the fourth biggest solar company we built as Germans in the United States. That unfortunately also went bankrupt 6 weeks until when Trump was elected. He changed the laws again. But anyhow, I think the know-how that we are gaining in this country is very welcome in other places. So if we are running now in a situation, I mean, we have election in one year. Nobody knows exactly what the outcome will be. I know that the solutions that we have developed and we can offer, they are needed. They are needed by industrial clients. They are needed by investors.
Absolutely.
They are also welcome in other parts of the world. So if Germany is deciding to go on sleeping, the sleeping beauty sleep, it will be developed in another place. So anyhow, it isn't stopping the whole thing, and this is the positive signal to the room.
That's true, absolutely.
Totally agree. I think the energy transition is not at risk at all. It's only the question whether it's going to happen fast enough in Europe or it's going to be faster somewhere else. But again, the world will be running on carbon-free power generation. I have no doubts about that.
And what will you invest in? What is some areas that you're interested in?
What we have understood is that again, and this is something we have learned on the basis of the past, where we have been spoiled by the subsidies, we cannot really continue to put our money only in the generation. We have to understand how to ultimately supply the consumer, the one who needs the power, with the power when at the time of the day when they need it. And this is sort of the challenge. We have to adopt batteries. We have to look at power markets. We have to understand, how to make the energy available when it is needed and not when the sun shines or when the wind blows.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for joining the stage again and having a difficult conversation. I understood it will be a challenge for us here. Everything I learned today is that we have to stand up and do something. And the time is over to sit and wait and have the beauty sleep, as you just said. And let's hope that this will happen. And I hope that you are participating and pushing everybody to do this. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.